Hi everybody, my name is Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, I mean, it's interesting because just so much is happening to all of us in each of our daily lives and in the way we proceed and, you know, the way we try to find love and happiness and joy in this life. And really in every country, for every person, in every race, religion, spiritual persuasion, sexual preference, age, we really just want to feel love and share it. We want to know joy in this life. We want to feel just connected to that inner knowing. We want to feel transformed into what we know we can be. We want to really just serve, just feel that we're part of a grand love fest in a way. And although for most of us, maybe our lives haven't set up that way yet, and maybe we think we're part of a country and part of a religion and part of a sexual preference that's opposed to something or separate from something else. In our hearts, in our root, in the deepest parts of our psyche, our soul, our heart, our love, we know that there's an experience that we could have, each one of us. No one is not available to that, of that unconditional love, of the experience of who we really are as that infinite, as that inclusive quality, as that unconditional love, as what we call the oneness here. And although on the earth plane somehow it can look tricky or confusing or not even that way, in our heart, in our root, in our deepest part, we know that that is not so, that there is a oneness, there is an unconditional love. And now we're fortunate enough to be part of a time in this human history where that's becoming more and more realized, more and more evident, more and more people are having epiphanies, are having realizations, are having recognitions, are being transformed into these people who recognize the love, recognize their connection to all things. And how fortunate and blessed and lucky and beautiful a time it is, and beautiful that we're allowed to be here. And the question really is how can we more and more, what is the prayer that we as a species, that we individually and we collectively can pray together, can recognize together, to realize together? As all the great teachers, as all the great masters, as all the great wisdom gatherers, wisdom sharers have said in one way or another. The Father and I, love and I are one. God and I are one. And, you know, the opportunity is really, really, really available now. The veils between what we think is a separation and the oneness, the illusion of our separation is thin and thinner and thinner and thinner. And the availability of the experience of our unconditional love, of our oneness, is right there. And there are so many people out there and so many availabilities of shows like Bridging, where the intention, where the vibration is of sharing that love, of feeling that love and sharing that love, of vibrating that infinite, that inclusiveness, that unconditional love over and over again. So for anyone who's watching the show, at any time, the availability is there. We know from, you know, our experience doing all these shows on Bridging that it started out on cable stations all over the United States, and then it was on in Europe. And then this thing called the internet and YouTube and Vimeo and websites became available. And now that each one of these Bridging shows is available all over the world. 24/7 for free for anyone with an internet connection, pretty much. And each one of our guests, and our guests tonight, have dedicated their lives to that transformation, to that recognition, to that experience, to that vibration. Ariel and Shya Kane are spiritual teachers, they're authors. Actually, they were on a bridging show, we were talking earlier, bridging show 107. So if you want to see what they've done before and how we've all progressed and how we've all grown, go to YouTube or Vimeo and put in Bridging Heaven Earth show number 107 with Ariel and Shya Kane. I mean, they're internationally acclaimed consultants, seminar leaders. They're catalysts for personal transformation. They've had columns in New York Spirit Magazine, Wisdom Magazine, long, long histories, long, long experience of serving that love, of sharing that vibration, of helping transform lives of people all over the planet. They have downloadable audio tapes and seminars and videos and audio books. And literally their lives are dedicated to traveling the world, to helping people transform their lives and to be part of this extraordinary global shift we're all in. So it's a great honor to have Ariel and Shya here with us again. So again, we're so fortunate for that. And as most of you know, we usually have videos and we have art, and tonight we have two amazingly beautiful videos. One is a movie trailer put together by Ram Dass, the world-renowned Ram Dass, Cultivating Loving Awareness. It's a beautiful trailer for a movie that's going to be coming out, and probably by the time you're watching it will be out and available. So it'll be, just Google Cultivating Loving Awareness. And then we have another beautiful video. One of the Bridging family and crew members, Bianca, is involved in with Bridging, these workshops and retreats and healing arts in her homeland of Croatia. And so we have a beautiful Healing Arts Croatia video that she put together of scenes from Croatia and information about her retreats and workshops. Just a beautiful piece of video that she put together. So we have that. And as most of you know, we're also in the middle of an international healing art project. It came as a dream, it came as a vision, to be part of an acupuncture, to be a part of healing the heart of the planet, that we would use the Bridging medium, the Bridging platform that goes out all over the world, and reach out to people, everybody who would like to. It's infinite, it's inclusive, and it's about healing and love. Produce a new original piece based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth, and we'll put it on the shows. We'll have we have a beautiful international healing art project website, which is Heaven to Earth Art, heaventoearthart.com. We have art project shows where we don't really have a guest. We have exhibits. We hope to get them in museums and hospitals as healings. And it's any size, any medium, any format, any skill level. Everyone is welcome. The energy around that project is of healing, of being part of an inclusiveness, part of a creativity, a collaboration, being part of an infinite energy of love. So we have two beautiful pieces, one from Joseph Polikoff and one from Cindy Patterson. And they're different and they're powerful and they're beautiful. All new original pieces based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth. And everyone is welcome to join us. So join me in a short meditation, then we'll have the video of Ram Dass, Cultivating Loving Awareness, and then we'll have Ariel and Shya with us, and more video and art, and an opportunity to be together and to feel love and share it. Thank you. So the first video I'm going to show is, as I said, a movie trailer, Cultivating Loving Awareness. It was put together by Ram Dass, Krishna Das, Sharon Salzberg, Mirabai Bush, directed by David Silver, produced by Raghu Marcus, explores the consciousness and love as the highest aspiration for humanity. And go to ramdass.org if you want to see more information. So Cultivating Loving Awareness. Enjoy.
I looked at his eyes. And he was looking at me with unconditional love.
Of course, in reality, love and loving kindness, compassion are like a tremendous force which can transform this world.
He was sitting on the bed, and I was sitting on the floor, and I was just sitting there with my eyes closed for a long time, and all of a sudden he sits up, and he looks at me and he says, "Courage is a really big thing." And I go, "What's gonna happen?"
Give up your role and embrace your soul.
The word actually in Pali, the language of the original Buddhist text, that's usually translated as meditation, is bhavana. And bhavana literally means cultivation. So our work is to cultivate the ground.
One of the most important and most effective ways of allowing you to just let go of what's in the way is inspiration.
Anything that begins to overcome our feeling of being separate and something that begins to break down our armor and our fears raises Kundalini.
I am loving awareness.
We need to be continually reassured that, yeah, this is true. We are loving awareness.
I am loving awareness.
And there are some of us and all of us at times who are in that space, but we need to be continually reminded.
I am loving awareness.
Look at Ram Dass all these years later talking about that first encounter.
It's just too much to talk about because it isn't speakable about. It's just being. It's like a sea of love.
Hi everybody, welcome back. Cultivating Loving Awareness, Ram Dass, Krishna Das, Sharon Salzberg, Mirabai Bush, David Silver, Raghu Marcus. Thank you for letting us have that. And really look for it on the internet, look for it in your theaters, Cultivating Loving Awareness. And the beautiful piece of art you see in between Ariel, Shya, and I is this beautiful piece by done, a new original piece done for the International Healing Art Project called Creation. Joseph Polikoff, he's from Elk Grove, California. It's oil mixed with ink on canvas. Joseph's done another piece. Again, if you really want to be just enlivened and inspired and empowered, go to heaventoearthart.com, heaventoearthart.com, and go through page after page of the gallery pages and then each individual's artist page to see the incredible, just the wondrous, magical pieces that people from all over the world have done. All new original pieces based on the theme Bridging Heaven and Earth as a healing for the planet. And everyone is welcome to join us, so please do. Okay, Ariel, Shya, great to have you back. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Right. So you guys are doing a lot of similar types of things, just more expansive, more all over the world. Mm-hmm. So why don't you talk about your work, your new book, and all the stuff that people all over the world want to know about you guys?
Well, the new thing we're working on came from an epiphany. You were speaking about epiphanies earlier that Shya had 25 years ago.
Wow.
So the book itself is called How to Have a Match Made in Heaven, a transformational approach to dating, relating, and marriage. And the
We've
transformation.
been married.
Yes.
We finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, we do.
So if we do, please include it.
Yeah. We've been married 28 years. We've been together over 30. And
That's
about
right.
25 years ago, he had this epiphany. We were walking actually in San Francisco one day. And he had this really deep, profound experience that he couldn't be different than he was in that moment. And if this perfection of this moment is true, then all of that picking on yourself that you do in your thoughts it's just so off base. And he stopped picking on himself. And in that instant, he also, by extension, stopped picking on me. And
That felt better.
it did. It felt totally different, really, though, because
Right.
you know you treat your partner the way you treat yourself in your thoughts. And actually, we've been since to see different quantum things where you actually affect the people in the room with your thoughts, but of course the person most closely associated to you. So I became more
She became
Capable.
really intelligent. You know, people get stupid
And
when you pick
nicer.
on them in your thoughts.
absolutely.
And the funny thing was, Alan, I didn't even realize I was picking on her. Because picking on myself was so normal to me. You know, when you do something wrong, you usually don't call yourself nice names, not even your first name. You know, you pick
Especially
on-
if you're from the East Coast.
Especially. But
I
we,
grew up
you know,
in Brooklyn, so I know all
I
those.
You
grew
know,
up in
you're
Far
very-
Rockaway.
Right.
So if you grew up in Brooklyn, I grew up in Far Rockaway.
We were close.
Very
A
close.
lot of
We
close
picked
thoughts.
on ourselves a lot.
Right.
And you know, our approach is anthropological. It's not psychological. So people are born into ongoing cultures that teach them the language, but not only the language, they teach them moods, they teach them feelings, they teach them the rules of behavior.
And how to worry and how to relate. And then, as we grow up, we think, oh, that wasn't so good. I'll do the opposite. But the opposite isn't helping you either.
Right.
There's
'cause
another
it's-
possibility.
It's still the same thing, just the flip side of it. But you see, human beings have, you were talking before about quantum physics. In quantum physics, a particle can exist simultaneously throughout the universe until it's measured. And it's the same thing with human beings. We have infinite potential until we label ourselves and say, I'm not good at this, I can't do that. And then you get stuck where you label yourself.
Yeah, you get frozen like an ice cube.
Exactly.
Right.
And as children, you know, we're not as facile as we are. We're not as able to do things as we are when we grow up. And so we make declarations about what we're capable of, what we are like, that I'm introverted or something like that, where then you start to gather evidence to prove your theory or your assumption about yourself to be correct, and you ignore all of your magnificence.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
that's
you narrow yourself down.
exactly.
We have this expression, whatever you think you are, you're more. Why don't you talk to that a little? Whatever you think you are, you're more. It's exactly what.
Well, I actually, you know, when we work with people, their biggest challenge is not looking at the things they consider wrong about themselves. Their biggest challenge is coming face to face with their magnificence. Really, it blows people's story, it blows their mind.
Well, when you say blows their story, the story is what keeps you stuck. And when you let go of the story of your life as though it's the truth, because it's what you've been playing in your head, then suddenly you have infinite possibilities become available just out of your letting go of the conversation, because you can only listen to one thing at a time.
You're your story. Your story includes everything you've experienced. It includes what you know. It includes what you know you don't know. Like we came here on an airplane. I know that I do not know how to fly one of those. But it doesn't include anything you haven't experienced yet. And so there's the infinite.
Up until that moment
That's
in
right.
this life, you haven't flown one. But if you got behind the wheel by some
She might
Well,
fly
I
for
might-
a
I
little
might
while.
discover
She
that
She
I'm
might
quite
fly it for a
brilliant at
little
it.
while.
or maybe it would just be somehow
would come
downloaded
natural.
or natural or
You
something.
never know.
Right, you never know.
That's right. But there's whole other possibilities with people. And you were talking in your monologue before this segment about how people want to be loved and feel loved. And I realized that when you're out of sync with yourself, you can't be in sync with other people because they'll love you, but you disregard it.
That's right. Every acknowledgement that somebody gives you, see, the game is to start to be kind to yourself, because if you're not kind to yourself, if somebody says you're great, it's disregarded by the filter of your mind, so you never feel acknowledged. And that's an interesting thing, because people are constantly searching for acknowledgement, like they accomplished something and they're worth something. But if they're in their thoughts picking on themselves, they won't let themselves be acknowledged.
Or experience that they're already acknowledged.
Exactly.
They are acknowledgement in a sense.
You know, people are often looking for healing, and if you're actually just here, there's nothing really to be healed. You're just here. It's a magnificent moment in your life when you're really here.
I mean, that's, be here now, and how do we come into that? Why don't you take us through some steps? How you deal with people who come in with all the story and all the momentum and all
Perfect.
We start with listening.
That's right.
Listening is really key. And you're doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. It's like looking at a person's eyes. So you're listening not only with your ears, but with your eyes, because that'll pull you into the moment.
And you're listening not to see whether you already know what they're saying, not to see whether you agree with it, not to see whether you disagree with it, but merely to hear their point of view. That would be enough to pull you into the current moment. Now, Ariel and I lived in a meditation center for a couple of years. We did all kinds of work on ourselves, and it was getting into the current moment when our lives transformed. It wasn't about getting somewhere, it was slowing down enough to get here.
So we sometimes make a joke, almost as if we were born with a miner's light on your head. And you can either be thinking about how you're doing, or you can shine it out into the world. And so listening is key, but also if a person is getting lost in their day, it's very simple. You look around, you see what's happening, you engage with your world. It's very practical, very easy. Your world is always telling you what's next to be done if you're listening.
Yeah. I had something? Yes.
Yes?
Yes, that's what I had, yes. See, most of us have been trained to be a no to whatever new shows up in our life in the next moment. And so we're cautious and careful. But the game is to discover how to be a yes to what's happening in your life and do what you're doing like it's your idea, like it is your idea to be going to work today because that's what you're doing, rather than you become the victim of the circumstances of your life and then nothing is good enough. So we've discovered how to be a yes to what's showing up in our life in each moment. If Ariel asks something from me, I'm a yes. Not ever the victim of her request, but just, of course. And since we've slowed it down enough that we're not going somewhere, not trying to get somewhere, we're not working on ourselves to affect some change out there that we think in our thoughts is better, life provides everything in each moment. Something very interesting happened. The other night, we were up in San Francisco doing a book signing, and I was shocked and surprised to turn around, and there was a man standing in front of me that I haven't seen in more than 30 years. He recruited me into being trained to lead workshops 35, 37 years ago, and I never expected it. Life provides these unexpected, joyous moments if you're there for them. It's like something I don't know that I may come on randomly. There was a poet, St. John of de la Cruz, and that was one of his poems where he talked about something I don't know that I can come on randomly. It's just,
The truth is, it's every moment. I mean, we
Exactly.
think miracles, the Red Sea, or but the fact that we're here talking on this planet that's
Absolutely.
hurtling, so every moment is like that. So how can we, be, in a sense, be born again every moment? That's what
That's
your
right.
life is about, is teaching that
Yes.
and experiencing that and vibrating that.
And the truth is, this is it. You can't be any different in this moment of now than you are. So, and life doesn't show up. The future doesn't get here until it is a moment of now.
And the past
and then
is
it's
gone.
gone. And the past is gone.
Right.
Really. Well, past is only gone if you leave it alone. Because
Right.
if you
If it's
keep on
rattling around.
if you keep chewing on it,
Right.
you can never swallow.
Right. It just
Right.
chokes you.
It chokes you, exactly. And so you got people who are trying to get somewhere that they think is better than their life right now, but they're holding on to their past, and that makes life so difficult.
I think that's a tricky part because, until we experience that moment of the infinite or the ability to trust that moment over and over again, we want some definition of ourselves. So we want to be male, we want to be this age, this country, this socioeconomic, all the stupid,
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
you think you are, you're more.
Right.
But it's almost like we think we need it until we experience something that we don't need it.
Right.
And that's
Yes.
what we're all here to do, is put out that vibration of the infinite, inclusive, blah, 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 that you don't need it. You don't need those
We've
identities.
been raised in a culture of forward thinking, and when you get something in the future, it's going to make our lives better or easier, and nothing does that.
Right.
The only thing that gets your life being easier is slowing down enough to be where you are.
And occasionally speeding up enough to be where you are. Because sometimes people
Right.
get so lost in thought, they're like
Yes.
somnambulistic, and it's a little bit like get engaged.
Or you think that you have to move slowly to experience the moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or with the
Right.
gruel bowl or the red outfit, whatever,
Yes.
concept we have of, be in meditation position.
Well, yes, and like Ariel and I tried that. We
did that.
all
A
that.
lot of people try.
We did a lot of different things, and it reminds
Meditation
me-
can be a competitive sport.
Right.
Absolutely.
My mind's quieter
and
than yours.
and your back is straighter.
Right.
Your legs are better.
When just prior to my having that epiphany, we were reading a book called The Unborn about a Zen master named Bankai in the 17th century Japan. And he sat on a hard rock for 20 years and he became enlightened. And when he was enlightened, he looked back and he realized that it was not the hard rock that did it. You don't have to go through arduous hard rocks and sitting on hard rocks until your butt bleeds to
Right.
become
And
enlightened.
fast and hold that position. anything.
Right. We
It
did all
doesn't-
that
right,
stuff.
I know.
What it takes is getting into the current moment of your life. That's all it takes.
And being
Not the
willing to-
thoughts about your life, but being here.
Sorry.
No, don't
Go ahead. Yeah.
But yeah, a sense of wonder, too.
Yeah.
We were at the airport the other day, and this little child, this little boy, saw a little van coming to pick him. He was like, a big bus! And he ran. He was like so delighted. He was so excited by this bus in front of him. And I thought, oh, that was so sweet.
Yeah, and we get so habitualized that, this
So
is
jaded.
what... So jaded.
Oh, yeah, we're at the
and that's
airport.
why, how do we get to be childlike and born again? But in the moment, we are.
That's right.
We are love
Absolutely.
and motion. in that.
Exactly. So the game is to get to where you are, not to where you think is better than this, because
Well,
this
you don't
is
know.
it.
First of all, you have to realize you don't know much.
But you see,
It's even-
the other thing is we can only project the future from what we know, and what we know becomes a repetition of the past, especially when you try to be different than that, because the resistance to it keeps it stuck.
And it's linear.
Yes.
And you know,
But
epiphanies are not
transformation
linear.
is not
right,
linear.
right.
Transformation is exponential. It happens in an instant outside of
Goes
time.
everywhere.
And it affects every aspect of your life. So you're not striving to get somewhere. You are.
And you're available and you're open.
Exactly. In each moment. You know, our radio show on the internet is called Being Here.
Right.
Because all it takes to have your life work is to be here. But you see, we've been so trained to use our minds, and so people think they can think themselves to enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. The dumber you are, the better off you are.
It's a curious thing because, you know, even if intellectually, there's so much reason here and so much, almost like dominoes fall, or, you know, that things have a certain linear pattern, and, you know, to be inside the box is the better way to do it. So we have to, like, I think you were saying earlier, not only have to be outside the box, we got to get rid of the box.
Well, when you're in the moment, there is no box.
There's not. You're right. It's that, and that's the energy we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Infinite, inclusive, and blah blah.
Yeah, and we've discovered that transformation, enlightenment, if you will, is practical. It really is.
Why don't you define enlightenment? Because I know it's like a term of art, and you know, for better or worse, you know, it's like one of those, something's gained and something's lost. But it's a term people use. So how do you guys use it?
The way I see it, well, it's been around forever. You know, it's like Christ consciousness. It's nirvana. And I searched for that for many years. But the way I really see it now is more about living your life directly, rather than second guessing yourself and thinking yourself to death about whether you're doing your life right. See, you can't do your life wrong. You can't do it right. You might as well have some fun.
Joyously and lovingly.
Right. And the middle word in enlightenment is light. You gotta lighten up. It's not a serious endeavor. If you're being serious, if you're working on yourself to get somewhere, you're saying there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. If you're here in this moment, life becomes an isness, not a gotta achieve that and then I'll be okay. And most of us think having a relationship will do it. You get two people in a relationship, if, as Ariel said, if they're not in sync,
It's not so pretty.
It's not so pretty. I love that.
And we've all probably at some point, if we've been around the block a little bit, have been in one of those where it's like, many
How did I get here?
All right, so let's on that note end, and we'll have the second video. Again, this video is a beautiful video, Healing Arts Croatia, about workshops and retreat centers and activities of healing, of just healing arts that are going on with Esalen massage and 5 rhythms dance, and just a lot of beautiful things put together by Bianca. Healing Arts Croatia. Enjoy. Hi everybody, welcome back. So the beautiful video you just saw was done by Bianca. It's healingartscroatia.com, healingartscroatia, as you would think you would spell it.com. And the beautiful music you heard was from Donna Delori, and her website is donnadelori.com, Donna and then DELORY.com. And the incredible piece of art you see in between Ariel and Shya is this piece called Gorillas Return to the Mist. It's a photographic collage. Cindy is from Ashland, Oregon, USA. Now, this is only a small part. This is her collage. But if you go to the website, Heaven to Earth Art, and look up Cindy Patterson, and go to her page, and you'll see all these pictures in larger editions, and you'll see all the detail, and she has different descriptions of all these pieces. And this is what she says about them in general. After a century of devaluing the gorillas in the mist, they have finally found a place in the world where they can live in peace. Heaven and earth have collided in the volcanic mountains of Rwanda. So go to the website, Heaven to Earth Art, and look up Cindy Patterson. Go to her page, and you'll just have an incredible experience. And again, everybody who would like to be part of this project, would like to be part of the healing, please join us. The more people involved, the better the healing. So we're back with Ariel and Shya. So we were talking earlier about literally being in the moment. And the moment is where
The action is.
The action is, joy is, love is, and no other place.
Satisfaction. All satisfaction resides in the moment. It isn't something in the future. It's not when you get more money in your bank account.
And intimacy. You know, lots of people, they finally find the one, but they're not there with them. And you really have true intimacy. You don't have to wait to find the one either. When you are really here, it's intimate when you're getting your cup of coffee in the morning from the person across from you or the person who's checking out your groceries. You
Or
have
you're alone
intimate
in your
moments.
house.
Absolutely.
You're one with everything.
That's right.
You're feeling infinite, you're feeling included.
Intimacy with the dishes you're washing.
Well, you know, I remember many years ago, I took my first workshop, and the person standing in front of the room was so still in themselves. I'd never seen anybody like that, and I am bad, you know? I thought, wow, if I could be like that, I could really be there during sex, not just thinking about everything else, not worrying about how I'm doing, not worrying about if it's gonna happen too soon, you know? It's like, when you're here, everything is joyous. And that doesn't mean you're smiling all the time. That doesn't mean the circumstances are what you would prefer. But if you're here for them and really here for them, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, we've had intimate, amazing experiences at the hospital, you know, when one or the other of us got sick.
You wouldn't prefer it.
I wouldn't prefer it. I wouldn't prefer it, but this
Not
is the way
top 10 on your list.
Right.
Right.
It's not,
Life is showing up this way in this moment. So if you're there for it, not like the victim, but like, yes, then it
kidney
is.
stone.
Right.
I remember what pain feels like. This is pain.
Yes.
Right, it's interesting. So walk us through, people are coming to this workshop in Costa Rica. We were talking, you're doing one. You do them every year, but this time you have like, you know, large groups, 80, 85 people.
Right.
And so they come and they're say, okay, I'm here. And they're settling. How do you take us through the process?
Well, the process really is getting them engaged in their lives, and we talk a lot about listening, because people, their minds are these very quick computers that rush off to different tangential thoughts, like they know what you're talking about, but they don't. You got to slow them down so what we do is talk a lot and listen a lot, but only one person talks at a time, and everybody gives them their full attention or as best they can. And they start training themselves to listen to what a person's saying, and that pulls them into the current moment.
And if you're really with a person, they're so fascinating. So it's really being engaged. And then, of course, you walk outside the course room and suddenly it's like, where did that tree come from? You know, something that's been there. It's huge. It's maybe 100 years old, but you were so busy you didn't see it. you're busy in your thoughts. So part of it is slowing down to get there. Part of it is allowing them to engage in whatever's there. And of course, it's a very sensual environment. So that makes it easier because the food is sensual, the air is sensual.
And we do our very, very best to be non-judgmental. So people can say anything, and they're not judged for being the way they are. They're not judged for their fears, for their foibles, for their lack of sophistication. They're fine exactly as they are, you know. And our definition of love is allowing somebody to be the way they are, and to be the way they're not. So we don't put a pressure on anybody to perform or do it right. They can just be themselves, and that's enough. And if it's enough for us, then it can be enough for them. And what's happened is we've developed a community of people. So of the 80 people that are scheduled for, well, we
The
have
first course.
for the first course, we have about 80 in each course. Maybe 65 or 70 of them have been there before, have come back year after year, because it's like a refresher course to get them ready for the year's onslaught, life's onslaught. Because, you know, life is not easy for most of us. You know, just having
Tricky business.
Right, it really is. It's not easy. You know, we were on a radio show a few days ago, a serious radio show, Playboy, and some guy called in from New Jersey, and he had a tough situation. His wife and he were fighting. They had a special needs child. He loves her. He loves the child, and he doesn't know how to make it work. You know, his relationship just doesn't work. And I feel so deeply for people, because people have not learned how to relate in a way that the person they're relating with feels loved and they feel loved. And that's what Ariel and I do our best to teach, how to be with another person, listen to what they're saying without judging them, without trying to get your way, you know. Let them have their truth, because it is their truth.
Do we have to not have a way to not want to get our way? In other words, if we're in the moment, we don't really have a way. Would you
Sometimes you have like these, well, there's two different things. There's the preferences, which are mind-based, and those are based on your enculturation. So I prefer this, I don't prefer that. And sometimes there's like that kind of quiet voice that's really your truth, where you know something really works for you, it doesn't work for you, and it's not logical, it just is. And so, but most people don't really hear that isness voice because they're so busy and listening to
the
what
conceptual?
But the other thing is, there's this need to be right that people have, and that truly pollutes the moment. See, if somebody's keeping lists about what they've done and what their partner's done or hasn't done, then it never works out. Because, I mean, they may stay together, but they won't find that sense of love that allows them to relax into themselves. So coming home is coming home. It's not a battlefield where you have to do it right and perform. It's really about allowing your partner to be who they are. And most of us are caught in a right-wrong game where we've been taught. You see, it's all enculturation. We are raised in a culture, an ongoing flow of humanity, and then we interact as we grow in sync with that flow of humanity. So we've learned to make somebody else wrong and be right about our position and hold on to it as if it would be a terrible thing to just say, sure, honey, you want to go to that movie? Let's go to that movie.
or I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had a lady once in Germany say, I'd rather have to crawl across broken glass than say I'm sorry. What? It doesn't hurt to say I'm sorry, you know? And we do things.
Help us, Father. and think of the struggle she would go through in all
That's
life.
right. And who it hurts is you.
Right, there's no
it
one else
doesn't
that-
hurt
who
the other
cares?
person. The other person doesn't care
Yeah,
at
they're
all.
moving on with their own.
Right. So being kind to yourself is so key. That really is. So
And
that's,
also recognizing anything you resist, you're energizing. And I think a lot of people miss that. So what you resist persists, it grows stronger, it dominates your life, and in this case, it dominates your relationship.
Why don't you talk about resisting and how that works, and how we see things, and I'm not like that, or I'm not, the expression when people say to me, I'm not the type of person who,
right.
or whatever the who, it's like.
Well, we often think if somebody volunteers that, we sometimes say, well, who asked? If it's a who asked type question, they're usually hiding from themselves all the ways they are like that. Sometimes people will come up and they'll volunteer, I have a great relationship.
Who
it's
asked?
like, well, okay.
That's like too much information right off.
Right
It's
off.
like, okay, fine.
Good. We're
That's
glad
great.
for
Good.
you.
And then comes the place where the things that they're hiding from themselves. I think when you define yourself in opposition to something, you're actually molding yourself to be that, maybe in the opposite, but you're not actually being yourself. You're not being authentic.
There are three principles to instantaneous transformation. The first one is anything you resist persists, it grows stronger, and it dominates your life. So if, say, this is your father and this is you, and you push against to resist, I'm going to separate my hands, you see that you take on the shape of what you resist. So anything you resist persists, it sticks around. So that's why all the things you say you want to change about your life stick around. They never really
Yeah,
change.
you're giving them energy by focusing time and
You
attention.
know,
Exactly.
mirror on the wall, I am my mother after all.
Right.
So anything that you resist persists. That's the first one. The second one is no two things can occupy the same space at the same time. So you can only be exactly as you are in the current moment of your life. You can't be any different in this moment. You can only be sitting where you are, doing what you're doing. Your life is an unfolding, and in each moment you can only be exactly as you are. And the no two things can occupy the same space. You can either be thinking or you can be being here. You can be experiencing or thinking about your experience, but you can't do both, one or the other. And when you're in your experience, life is full and rich. When you're in your thoughts, it gets bleak, and usually you end up being right about something.
Or wrong about it.
But that's
Well,
the opposite.
you're being
That's
right that you're wrong.
Right, wrong is the
Right.
same as the dichotomy.
Right. No.
And
Yeah, but we bounce back and forth.
Yes,
And that makes us crazy.
yes, yes.
That makes us normal.
Right.
The third
Very
principle-
standard fare.
Yes.
Third principle is anything that you see and allow to be exactly as it is completes itself in that moment. So you don't have to work on yourself. If you see you're doing something that is self-destructive, if you don't judge it, if you don't add energy to it, it's over.
Because everything needs energy to survive. You don't add energy for or against it, it dwindles away all on its own.
That's
Yeah, we
right.
talk about all you have is time and attention. So if you don't put attention on it or time, it's not there. It's not part of your life anymore.
That's right. And so it's all about being here. When you're here, this is it.
Right.
And this is all there is. So there's no need to rush, and you can't do it wrong. That's the other thing. So many people think they can do their lives wrong. The other thing is, so many people think they need to have a life purpose that's grandiose. If you're enjoying your cup of coffee, that's your life purpose in that
You're
moment.
vibrating perfectness.
Exactly. And if you look at in a dictionary definition of perfection, it says lacking no component parts, full, whole, complete, immutable, not changeable. That's the moment. The moment is lacking nothing. It can't be changed, and it's perfect. And so is everybody in the moment. But if you're thinking you should be different, there's in our first book, we quote Sin Ming, and it said
A mystic.
from China, and he talks about how when you have a preference, heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Life. If when you live your life, that what shows up is what's supposed to be there. Life is a magnificent experience. When you have a preference, then heaven and earth are infinitely split apart.
The other thing is, you talk about vibrating, and I think it's like people forget that they are synchronizing up with it. We call it synchronization. You know, where you link and sync. And then sometimes the people around you are disturbed, and then you get disturbed, and most people then fight that. They resist that. They don't want to be disturbed, but you resist it, you keep it in place. But if you recognize you're feeling disgruntled inside or disturbed, and you have space for that, you allow yourself to be okay to feel that rumbly nature.
And don't blame it on the circumstances.
And you don't judge it. It's like, first of all, it calms down all on its own. But the other thing is then you give the other the space to be, and it transforms not only here, but it transforms over there.
And everywhere.
Everywhere. It allows it to ripple out. So there's something really wonderful about letting you be you in all of your magnificence, which includes sometimes having disturbance.
And you know, transformation doesn't have to be difficult. That's why our website is Transformation Made Easy.
That was your first book, right?
Working on yourself doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember
book
that,
about
yeah.
instantaneous transformation.
Yeah, it's really easy, but look, our models have been difficult models, that's all. Because, you know, like I remember when I first fell into the possibility of transformation, it happened in 1961 on an acid trip. I suddenly had no voice. I was just experiencing directly. And about 8 hours into it, this noisy voice came back and started complaining and yelling, and that was me up until that point. So I realized that there was a possibility of living life directly without drugs, and that's started me on the search.
There are a lot of people who had that experience. We're not going to say who on the set, but there are a lot of people who had, you experience where it's not like that.
Right.
And it feels a lot better.
Well, it took me outside of what I knew, the known, and we usually all function through what we know, not through what is.
I mean, that's why it's so important, in gurus throughout history and stuff like that, to have that experience of being outside the you that you know, and you go, oh.
Possibility.
Something else.
Possibility. Wait, where did this come from?
Right, and through darshan or however it happens, being at the beach, I mean, there's no right or wrong, but to have it.
The problem with the acid trip was it was chemically induced and it was over.
Right.
Then it was the hard work was trying to spending many, many years taking every workshop that was available to try to reach that space again.
But at least you knew it existed.
That's right.
Right.
And that
It doesn't take
changed
as long
everything.
for people now.
Right.
Because there are enough people around, as you were saying, who are vibrating, who've experienced it. It's like the 4-minute mile. Once it was broken, it
was
became
a lot
impossible.
easier. Right.
Right.
Because the mind didn't stop you.
Right.
When you got close, kind of. Right.
Well, we lived at this meditation center for a couple of years, and we would take courses that were a month long. And by the end of that, I'd have a 10-second period of stillness. And I, wow, I'm never going to make it.
Right.
I'm never going to make it because I just did a month-long course, and I'm upset again.
But it's not linear, so I mean,
exactly.
building
When
up
it
to
happens, it happens.
And it was all building up to that in a sense.
Couldn't have gotten there without going.
it.
And couldn't have gotten there without everything we went through. Because each moment of our past was a perfect moment that brought us to this moment. So, it's not like trying to get somewhere.
And interestingly, we're getting to the end of this show. It's amazing how so much comes out. It's been such a joy, really. It's great
So
to have you
sweet
back.
being with
And
you.
we don't have to go another 200 shows before you come back
sure.
again.
We'll
Come back again.
Right, all
Thank you
right,
so
good.
much for having us.
805-687-2053. We love you. Good night. God bless you. Thanks for coming. Good night.